Hello everybody and welcome back to ZakIsCinema. Yes, welcome back everybody. If you find that you are just on this constant struggle to find someone that'll listen to you list out your favorite franchise rankings, explaining to this individual why you like this one over this one in your ranking of a franchise, well, don't worry buddy, you don't have to be on that search anymore, because that is what we're gonna do today. We're gonna be doing some rankings together, so please join us here. Today we are going to be doing a franchise ranking for the Hell House LLC franchise. So as we jump into this franchise ranking, over the past week or so on the channel, we have been covering all of the Hell House movies leading up to Hell House Lineage that came out just a couple days ago. So if you want more of my in-depth thoughts on all of these Hell House movies, I have individual videos for every single one. So this is going to be kind of a brief overview from worst to best in ZakIsCinema's opinion here, but had a lot of fun going through all of them, so we're gonna end this video series off with a ranking here. So let's get into it. Starting with number 5, last place, I got Hell House LLC 3 Lake of Fire. So this is a kind of a difficult one because I feel like with all of the movies in this franchise, but specifically this third one, I really just admired its ambition and its concepts that it was going for. Just I felt like it really fell flat with its execution and delivery and really held back by its budget for what they were really trying to go for. And it's frustrating too because some of these scares and scare scenes are really well done, some of the best in the franchise. Just a lot of them are surrounded by really stupid shit, and a lot of them just kind of feel, unfortunately, very repetitive, where characters are kind of walking around, then you see, a clown or something in the background just kind of staring at our character, and then slowly getting closer and taking him out almost like a slasher villain at some points. There's a scene that really stood out to me when the Insomnia cast and crew is all getting together, having a cool little bonfire. They dare one girl to go to the basement and kiss one of the clowns, and the whole setup is just very cheesy, but like when she's going down there, creeping through the Abaddon hotel, it is scary, it is intense, but as soon as she gets there, notices the clown start moving, she like screams and runs away and like sits and cowers on the stairs, and it's like, bitch, just go up the stairs, like why are you sitting there? So a lot of the repetitiveness and stupid shit all around it really hold back the scares for me. And again, like I said, I really appreciate the concept and ambitions this movie's going for. Just when you get to the third act, it really doesn't have the budget and execution to pull any of them off. For example, we got our character of Russell, which is unfortunately a pretty big negative in the movie. He's just so obviously creepy and obviously up to something that it kind of takes a lot of the intensity out of the movie. At the end of the movie, we see our character of Russell get into this like silly little wrestling match with our character of Andrew Tolley as the gates of hell are opening inside the Abaddon pretty much, and I guess it causes some of the fire to leak out the gates of hell and cause fire all over the Abaddon hotel, and the fire effects are just awful. The stuff going on before then, when you got all these demons in these Walmart Halloween costumes fake slashing people, none of it really holds up, none of it really works for me, and it's almost like too cheesy to obviously take serious, but not really cheesy and entertaining enough to have a so bad it's good experience with it, at least to me. And so that third act just left me so disappointed, but then they do something really cool and interesting, and at the end, after the Abaddon kind of goes up in flames, we have our original Hell House squad group of characters wake back up in the Hell House hotel where they originally died in that first movie. And when I first saw that, I was like, holy shit, okay, this might save it. Let's see what they do with it, but they don't do anything with it. Our characters all wake up. Russell rounds the corner like he's some holier than thou character, talking to our Hell House people, saying that they're in some sort of heaven-ish place, but stuck in the Abaddon Hotel because they died there. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I kind of already figured that. Then all of our Hell House original characters just kind of accept the information, move on, and go have a lovely drink at the bar together. And I'm like, oh, okay, so you introduced something very interesting, but you didn't do anything with it, didn't really expand anything. I assume they were still stuck in there because that's part of your lore. I don't know. Showing it just kind of took any of that mystery or intrigue out of it, and it goes nowhere. And unfortunately, with the character of Russell, we spend a lot of time following him, and the whole plot and story around him is just kind of cheesy and stupid, how he's putting on this interactive play in the Abaddon. It's cool in concept, but then when you see it play out in the third act, it just comes off as so cheesy and stupid, and he's always up in the attic at this boardroom table with his security guard, manager person, even though he's really only overseeing 4 or 5 different actors. So that was just a little silly to me. And I think the movie just never does a good job at explaining if Russell was good and then turned evil and regretted it, or if this was just all part of his plan, which is a big thing when we're following him, when he's kind of the second lead character in the movie. Later on, it's revealed that he had an accident, died, and came back about 2 minutes later. So he's sending all these cryptic messages to our interview team as well, saying that this is like part of his plan, telling him not to be there on opening night. So I was just confused if like he knew this was going to happen and he was planning to stop it, or if he knew it was going to happen, helping the Abaddon demons and Andrew Tully to go through with this and then regretted it and then tried to save everybody. But either way, I think it's so stupid that he ends up in the heaven place, even though I know he died there. Just, I hate how they treat him like this good character all of a sudden, which is just so strange, because either way, no matter what his motives were, he still got a lot of people killed, a lot of his own cast and crew members killed as well. That is just frustrating that they never really established what side he was really on. And ultimately, this movie just kind of felt boring, stuff we've seen before in the franchise, and ultimately the least scariest movie in this entire franchise. So I think easily, to me, it comes in at my number 5 spot, Hell House LLC Lake of Fire. But coming in at our number 4 spot, we got Hell House LLC 2, The Abaddon Hotel. So this is still a very disappointing movie to me, especially watching it directly after I finished the first one. I think there is some positives here, but more so positive sequences. For example, they introduced something cool, that the hotel has this demonic controlling energy around it, where it kind of draws people in, orchestrates outside events to kind of lead people back to the Abaddon Hotel so they can get more sacrifices and do their demonic cult shit. So I like that subtle way where if you're an outsider, you might just see these as all weird coincidences, but the deeper you go into the lore, you find out that this is part of Andrew Tully's plan. He's been orchestrating all of this, leading characters to the hotel for his own motives. So I like creepy stuff like that. I like the lore that they add to that. I also think there's some genuinely creepy scenes in here. For example, towards the third act, when all of our main characters are hiding up in the room that I believe Paul from the original was sleeping in, they barricade it with a dresser. All of a sudden the lights turn off, and then when they turn their camera light on, all of a sudden the doors open, the dressers moved, but when the lights were off, we didn't hear anything going on, so it's so subtly creepy like that. And then when our characters are freaking out trying to turn the lights back on, we see a demonic figure just hanging out in the background, doesn't do anything, doesn't jump out, just kind of slowly disappears, and the characters don't even realize it was ever there. Then they see a note in the room where it's saying one of our characters that we had with the group is now in the basement. They go down to the basement and see her laying on that iconic clown down in the basement of the Abaddon Hotel. So I think individual sequences like that are very, very well done. And I also think they do a better job compared to our first one, in this case with the character of Jessica as she's being interviewed by police spliced in throughout the movie. They do a much better job at hiding the fact that she's actually dead. Again, another demon, almost like Sarah in the original, leading more people back to the hotel. And I think the reveal that they do with her as that police officer steps in front of the camera, then you see her in her demonic phase, character goes back across the camera and she looks normal again. Very, very creepy, unsettling stuff that is just noticed by the audience, which I always love in horror. And they do just such a much better job at hiding that. So when the reveal happens, it's an impactful reveal that's also creepy at the same time. But the reason it's coming in at my number 4 spot is even though there's individual sequences and ideas that are really creepy and unsettling to me, and some really good parts, I think the story surrounding everything just doesn't work very well and feels very repetitive to our first one. For example, we got the editor, I believe Mitchell, in this movie from our first one that was going through all the footage. He teams up with this documentary crew to go back to the Abaddon Hotel to try and do something, capture footage, capture evidence of something creepier, sinister, and more demonic going on to kind of prove that the original Hell House incident wasn't just a prank or a stunt by the Hell House team, but actually something more sinister and demonic. Like, that makes sense for the character to be doing that, but us as audience members already know that there's demonic, creepy shit going on. So when they go back there to investigate, I'm already detached because I'm like, these characters are all gonna die. They're gonna face horrible, horrible deaths. And I already know what you're looking for because I watched the first movie and I saw it kind of play out. So when we go back to the hotel, it's just like, okay, like I know what I'm going to expect. So the discovery and mystery aspect doesn't work when your audience already knows that mystery, and instead just following characters that don't know it, if that makes sense. And it's so frustrating too, because I think I like the idea of the character of Arnold Tasselman as he's part of this news panel, but he's really Andrew Tolley. And I like that idea since it leads to a reveal that is obvious. If they hit it better, maybe it'd work a little bit better. But Andrew Tolley is really just there to deliver exposition. I really don't like how they show old security footage of Alex from our original one meeting up and talking with Andrew Tolley. I mean, I knew he assumed he was Arnold Tasselman, but make it a deal to put his haunted house experience in the Abaddon Hotel. So showing Andrew Tolley was like orchestrating more things. It's just like so on the nose and kind of goofy that it takes any of the creepiness factor out of it, of people leading him to the hotel. Like, Andrew Tolley is very obviously just kind of creepy, and I don't like that they include he's some sort of businessman just orchestrating people. I wish it was done a little bit more subtly, and it's just frustrating because they set up this interesting third act again in concept where our characters towards the end go back to the main lobby of the hotel and Andrew Tolley's kind of sitting there. It has this dinner laid out with Alex and another character from our Hell House squad, and he's basically just vomiting exposition to us. So it just takes some of that creepiness factor out. They show him too much and he just doesn't look very creepy, and I kind of figured that's where it was going because Arnold Tasselman just looked so creepy and sounded so creepy in the beginning and denying everything. You knew something was up with him, so that's a little frustrating just because it kind of removes some of its grounded nature that I really appreciated from the first one. Overall, that third act is just so frustrating and disappointing, and the story kind of surrounding everything just doesn't work the best for me. So yes, that's why at number 4, we got Hell House LLC 2, the Abaddon Hotel. But coming in at our number 3 spot, we got the new one, Hell House LLC Lineage. And again, this is a frustrating one to really talk about. I think my fourth and third spot here are just big mixed bags for me, where I didn't outright hate it, didn't outright love it, and kind of somewhere in the middle, and saw the potential but had frustrating things that just kind of buried that potential for me. Like, for example, with Lineage, I was so confused as to why they were going away from found footage in the fifth installment in a found footage franchise, which was so weird. But then once you start seeing the story that they're telling, how they're following Vanessa, our lead documentary person from our third one, as we're following her, she is so traumatized, struck with grief and depressed about the events and filled with guilt from the events from the third one. It wouldn't really make a lot of sense for her to be doing another documentary in the found footage style. So the story that they wanted to tell, it makes sense for them to shift it over. I think it leads to some interesting things where now, since it's not found footage, we could be following Vanessa, we could be following Alicia and what she's doing with our Catholic priest as well. So there's more of a build-up, there's more of a culmination of different things happening, and I think it does work really well for the scares, where sure, maybe it doesn't give us the exact same found footage experience, but I think Cognetti did a really good job with building the tension, and I think it helps a lot with finally having a score and background music and build-up music for our scares in a Hell House movie that I really was missing from all the other ones. I know that's the point of found footage, but still, it was nice seeing a Hell House movie with some genuinely great music in it too. And I like the way he moves the camera, follows characters around, has these long drawn out scenes where it's really ramping up the tension. Sure, all of them kind of end in either a jump scare or a clown coming at somebody, but it's been a lot of the franchise, so I still appreciated that change of pace, because it still felt new and different, which I think is very helpful when you're in a franchise that's 5 movies deep. And I was really starting to enjoy how this movie was starting to feel like a culmination of the entire franchise by trying to literally connect all the movies back to Lineage and weave and connect all of them, and how we got different scenes from previous movies just at new angles and new perspectives to get a little bit more context and lore what was going on, but it doesn't do it in a way where it ruins any of the individual movies. It kind of adds to them and benefits them just a little bit. So I appreciated that size and scope and just trying to connect everything where I thought it was going in an interesting direction. However, this is in my third spot because even though some of the setup was good, I was curious on where this was going and I wanted to see how it ended. It was dragging a little bit, meandering a little bit, but I'm like, okay, if they stick the landing, it'll make this worth it and maybe make what I was kind of disappointed on a little bit better. But when they failed the ending so tremendously, not only did it make me just not enjoy myself, but then going back on some of my positives, it just kind of soured them because I'm like, well, it's now leading to nowhere and I don't really want to rewatch this one, even though I feel like I need to because there's so much exposition and lore dumping that at points characters are just sitting down name dropping people from all the movies, name dropping events that I literally felt like I needed to take a notepad and tell the characters like slow down. I just watched all of these movies and I was still feeling slightly confused. The ending to me just feels like it comes out of nowhere, it goes nowhere, it leaves me with unsatisfying answers and even more questions than I had going into it. And it's one of those movies that just cuts off as soon as I thought it was leading to what the real climax and ending was. It literally cuts off to the point where I thought it was going to show the credits and say part 1 and that they've been secretly filming part 2 and it's going to come out in a couple weeks and you're going to get the full conclusion, but it doesn't do that. And the director has now said that he's done with the franchise and someone else can write or make more if they want, but this was his ending. But it's not an ending, especially when you leave it off on a character reveal that just brings up so many fucking questions and could lead to something kind of interesting, but then you cut it off at a reveal. So it's not a wrap up, it's not a conclusion to anything. You're either setting up a new movie or setting up what I thought the last 10 to 20 minutes were going to be, and then you chose to do neither and said that's your ending. And I'm like, well, that's that's not an ending. And then it makes me just question why the whole movie spent all this time lore dumping to me, meandering, not really having an overarching or fast moving plot thread throughout. It just kind of makes me question why we were wasting so much time when then in the back half 20 minutes you're doing all these cool and interesting things, but you're throwing me so many details that lead to nothing. And it's just such a frustrating experience. It's one of the most difficult reviews I've ever had to do, where I literally felt like I needed to take notes and read off notes to people. And it's so hard to talk about spoilers, but even if I wanted to talk about spoilers, I literally need to see the movie again because I'm still so confused and feel convoluted in my own thoughts that I feel like I couldn't talk spoilers because I'm just like, oh my God, that was a lot. And it felt like a lot, but it also felt like nothing happened. And I think in my review, I said this movie feels 20 minutes too long, but also like 30 minutes too short. So it's just one of those weird experiences of a movie where looking back on it, it is frustrating and disappointing, even though I really like segments of it. So that was a lot. I was reliving my trauma from just a couple days ago, but I'm still curious on what people think about this. Please let me know. I don't really know if I'm on an island with this, if people hated it more. So yeah, definitely let me know. But my third spot is Hell House LLC Lineage. But coming in at our number 2 spot, we got Hell House LLC Origins, The Carmichael Manor. And to me, this was a big, pleasant surprise when I was going through the Hell House movies. Obviously, we haven't gotten to one that I enjoy the most, but as I was kind of going through 2, definitely when I hit 3, I was starting to have those thoughts like, oh God, maybe this is one of those movies that should have just stayed 1 and not turned into a franchise. But then when I got to 4, it really rejuvenated the whole franchise for me and made me look forward to Lineage even more. And I think in this one, I really just appreciate its new setting where it's still similar to the Abaddon Hotel, but we're in the Carmichael Manor now, and it's about like 2 to 3 times the size of the Abaddon Hotel. I'd noticed a huge significant increase in budget, and just the manor itself is just so creepy, feels so empty, yet so full of demonic entities and presence of evil. It just set itself up so well in an interesting setting for a found footage horror movie that felt different from our franchise that we've seen before, but still made efforts to connect everything, which was just so cool and interesting. I also think in this movie, we easily have some of the best characters, where our character of Margot gets a bit of a backstory with an old story of her going to a fair, almost being taken by somebody. She couldn't identify this person, and he kept doing it and doing it to other kids. And she felt this need to make sure that unsolved crimes don't go unsolved anymore. So that's why she does what she does. And I also like the inclusion of Margot's brother Chase, where he has a backstory and a history with some significant mental health concerns. And he shows up to the manor, which was revealed later on that he was starting to get his visions and hallucinations again, and saw a girl which he thought was real tell him to go and see Margot, and then Margot asks him to join on this trip, and that's why he kind of felt like he needed to. So nothing groundbreaking, but for once in this franchise, they really take time with our characters, which was so refreshing to see. I also think they have some pretty good scare scenes where they're always using these kind of wide shots going down the halls of the manor, leaving bedroom doors open so you're kind of always looking around. I love the scene of Chase kind of losing his mind as he's recording himself in the middle of the night, and that's what leads to him going missing. I thought that had some really nice tension and build up and introduces a mystery to the movie. I also love the one with Rebecca when she's on this Zoom call interview to and is opening up a file to show her boss these listing pictures, but then she opens one of in real time pictures of somebody walking up the stairs getting closer and closer to her. I thought that was very, very well done. And I also love the inclusion of the old Carmichael family home videos as they're kind of doing their own found footagey stuff, and it has that Super 8 film reel feel to it, very similar to stuff out of Sinister, which was just so creepy. And I love that we get more backstory and more lore about how the Carmichael Manor connects to the Abaddon Hotel and how Carmichael and Andrew Tully were in this together and doing their cultist stuff together, and it led to what this franchise has been exploring already. I love the inclusion of finding more about that iconic clown too, and we get a reveal of who is in it, or the demon entity that's been in it. I love the backstory of the Carmichael Manor and what happened to its family, and then as we slowly discover and everything and how it all connects. So I just love that this movie feels so different, but it's still creepy in the way that Hell House movies are, and it makes sure to connect everything and just makes this franchise seem so big with its lore and story, which is just impressive with how well it connects everything and how much more interesting it really makes it. But I will say this is coming in at my number 2 spot, and it might be kind of nitpicky stuff, but I hate the way that we get our information kind of delivered to us. Even though I like where it ends up and how it connects everything, I just hate that Rebecca and Margot go to this thrift store that have a bunch of the Abaddon Hotel stuff after it had burned down in our 3rd movie, and then find out this secret compartment in this tall clock and get all this information literally written out to us, connecting everything as they kind of dig through it. So I just wish it was more of a discovery aspect and a mystery aspect in the movie. And you have this huge manor, and I feel like they could have explored it more and done more in it. I didn't feel the need to do a one-off and go to the thrift store and literally find all of our answers that we've been searching for. So I just thought that was kind of done in a lazy and frustrating way. And I think it's also very frustrating that they don't really give our characters a good enough reason to stay at the Carmichael Manor, especially when really creepy shit is going down. Maybe I can forgive Margot staying there, but Chase and Rebecca kind of make this pact that, as soon as some more creepy stuff happens, let's get out of here. But they do that a couple times and just end up staying. As soon as Chase goes missing, no one attempts to call the police or just get out of there. Rebecca and Margot do try to eventually walk on foot, and they say the Carmichael Manor is about 12 miles. So they're saying that that's a pretty long walk, which it definitely is. But if you wanted it to be more isolating, I would have said maybe like 50 miles, not like 12. Like, yeah, that'll take a bit, but you could do it. So it's just frustrating that none of our characters try to do anything, especially once Chase goes missing. I would even imagine Margot would want to get out of there because she knows the demonic shit going on, and now her brother is literally taken from her, and that she just kind of wants to stay there and keep doing it and not call for help or anything. I thought that was just a little frustrating. And I do like the final climax, like the ending where we get a bit more lore with the Carmichaels, see the son of Mr. Carmichael put on the clown mask as he goes off to what we know is murdering his entire family. So I like that inclusion. I just hate the wrap up of our main storyline with Margot, as it leads to kind of at this point a traditional Hell House jump scare with a clown just attacking her, but the camera glitches and shuts off, and that's how that ends. I don't know. I felt like with these level of characters, they deserved something a little bit better than just your standard, they died and they're not here anymore. So it's just a little anticlimactic at the end there. But coming in at my number 2, we got Hell House LLC Origins, the Carmichael Manor. But yes, that leaves 1, and my number 1 spot is the original Hell House LLC. And to me, this kind of almost rejuvenated my love and interest in found footage horror, because I feel like when found footage horror is done right, it could do something so unique and different and literally make me feel like I'm right there with the characters and put me in this experience that maybe a more traditional movie can't always have that same effect. Where I think this is a found footage movie that does it right, where we are literally watching found footage. We are watching footage brought in to the people making this documentary movie and watching it almost alongside with them. It's cut in between very interesting interviews and explanations of what happened on opening night. And that leads to one of my bigger positives too, is I just love the story and premise to this of how we're following these group of characters called Hell House, and they put on haunted house experiences. They weren't finding too much success in the city, so they went to more of a rural town. I believe they said in upstate New York. They're putting on this haunted house experience in this abandoned hotel, and at the beginning of the movie, we find out something tragic and horrible and unexplained happened in the basement of the hotel at the end of the experience. And then our journey through the movie is following our characters as they're putting this together, and then slowly and methodically getting revealed to us what actually occurred on opening night and everything that led up and culminated to it. So I just love that story. I love how it feels like a haunted house experience, and I say that in a positive way, where at least to me, I hate haunted houses. I'll go through them, but I'll be that fucking asshole that pushes people in front of me. Even in like the couple times I've gone with my sister, I make her go first just because that shit feels too real. I like the haunted hay rides a little bit more, but even at some points that just, it feels too real to me. But this movie gave me that similar experience in a fun way, where I felt like I was walking through this haunted house together with these people, experiencing these really creepy scenarios going on. And I love how it's filled with creepy imagery, creepy stuff going on in the background, good build up, and not a bunch of just cheap, lame jump scares, which I think the franchise kind of led to with almost these clowns and demons kind of turning into slasher characters, but we don't see any of the slashing, but taking these characters out. But we see it done in a little bit more subtle and creepy way here. And I love the backstory and what it's setting up with the Abaddon Hotel, what happened there, why it is now happening to all of these characters, and what it's all kind of leading to. So yes, I am a big fan of the original Hell House movie. I think out of the franchise, it has a simple story that works really well. It does overall, its reveals pretty well. Like I said, if you want more in-depth, I do have some of my issues with the ending, but I think overall it doesn't sour my experience the way Lineage did. I like the group dynamic here. I love the scares, and I think seeing all this for the first time was really when this movie was most effective. So easily to me, coming in at number 1, we got the original Hell House LLC. You guys have my final ranking here for the Hell House franchise. Like I said, if you're interested, I have in-depth videos on all of these movies, so feel free to check that out. But most importantly, let me know your ranking down below. Let me know what you think and feel about this franchise as a whole. And like I said there in my Lineage section, let me know what you thought about that movie. I'd be curious to hear more people's thoughts and feelings on that one. But that's about it. I really appreciate anybody watching my videos. It does mean a lot, so thank you so much. And yeah, look forward to more ZakIsCinema coming very soon.